Good evening, everyone, again on this wonderful Thursday. We are back for the Alfa Romeo Owners Club League. Due to some very little minor technical issues, we have missed pretty much the entirety of qualifying, but that's okay. We are back again racing for a triple header this evening at the Bahrain International GP layout. So, with everyone lining up, let's just get over to make sure that's working, and then we'll get over to the circuit. There we are. So, looks like I can already see if I can get the numbers to sort themselves out. Just bear with me. There we are. So it looks like Andrew Whitehead has pipped everyone to pole position on the circuit there. Get rid of that. Let's just, there we go. That one, fantastic. So we have Andrew Whitehead on pole position on the front row. It's going to give me a little bit of a, I think it depends very much when people load in possibly, but we have Luke Wiggins heading up the second row, and I can already see, I think, Colin Knief's car there on the front row as well. Paul Plant in fourth position on the off side of the circuit. So as they head off the line, they'll be heading down a very, very long straight for everyone to sort themselves out, and then a very heavy braking zone into turn one, going to the right. So it'll be very interesting to see whether people can get slowed down enough, whether who's leaving space for who, and what will happen with everyone piling into such a tight corner as well, over 90 degrees of a bend, and then into turns 2 and 3, and then a long straightaway to turn 4 for another heavy braking zone. So we have Matt Daly in 5th position, Alex Smith in 6th, Rob Whitney in 7th, Alan Matthews in 8th, Greg Young in 9th, James Rose in 10th, John Bingsley in 11th, the camera car, Tim Perry in 12th, Guy Swarbrick in 13th, Stephen Knight in 14th. And back to the front of the grid, so not too long to go. 15 minute race, sorry, plus 1 lap from the leader. 1 o'clock in the afternoon, lights appear on the gantry. Six red lights ready to catch out the drivers, see how everyone performs getting away. And the lights go out, and they look like a very heavy jump start from, not sure who that was. Well, once we get into the swing of things, we'll figure out what was going on with that one. But that may be, and there's already accident. It looks like Andrew Whitehead's been knocked off. People have been turned around. Colin Knief has been involved in an accident. There's already still contact going on as people piling into each other, turning out of turn 3, going down the main straight. So there's still contact. There's been heavy contact from many people. But there's still a battle for second place going on now between Matt Daly, Colin Knief and Paul Plant at the back there. Alex Smith was the one looks like to have jump started the race from my perspective, and just disappeared up the road, so I'm fairly sure he'll have a penalty to take. But there's a tussle going on at the back between 3 drivers, James Rose, Rob Whitney and Tim Perry, fighting for position now, as a few of them have been knocked down the field. Guy Swarbrick currently in 7th. Tim Perry's managed to get past Alan Matthews as we come through, I think, turns 11 and 12. We have Alex Smith in pole position, Matt Daly in second, who I think will inherit lead fairly soon. Depending on what Alex Smith has to do. Colin Kniff currently in third, so dropping down from, I think was involved in a fairly heavy contact. There was a lot of cars pinging off the circuit left, right and centre, so it's a bit difficult to keep an accurate track of what was going on. Paul Plant now down into fourth, Rick Young in fifth, John Billingsley in sixth, Andrew Whitehead, big loss from him from first all the way down to seventh. And as we see, yes, Alex Smith has had to come into the pits for his drive-through or stop-go penalty, drive-through penalty by the looks of it, just to go through the pits, and will now be demoted down until down to 11th position, just in front of James Rose and Luke Wiggins. Stephen Knight just at the back there. So the new leader, Matt Daly, in first place after starting second row, I think, and having Andrew Whitehead knocked off the road in front of him. He's now inherited first place. Currently sits third in the championship, I believe, for the entire series, and has Colin Kniff on his tail as they go through. What time are they going through? 10, 8, I believe, and then this will be turn 9, and then another heavy braking zone as the car is turning as well. So not an ideal corner to be braking for. Can upset the car quite significantly and turn you around if you're in the wrong weight on the car. Alex Smith now back down into 13th position after, I think, possibly contact with Luke Wiggins. By the looks of it, sent him down the order. So going from bad to worse for Alex there. The gap's fairly close to each other still. Greg Young in fourth, trying to go onto the back of the leading pack. A little bit of a gap now down to John Billingsley in fifth, and Andrew Whitehead now up into sixth, trying to close down on his tail. Guy Strawbrick in seventh, Tim Perry in eighth. So two, possibly three very significant groups of cars there, so everyone's still fairly bunched up together. As we see personal laps being set for the front running group. With just about a third of the race now run, as they come through turns. Who's that? We're already having lapped traffic, I believe, from Stephen Knight, who is possibly not having greatest time on the circuit. Again, a heavy braking zone into turns 9 and 10, left-hander there. As they're about, there's a massive change at the back, and there's been contact at the back. So Andrew Whitehead again being involved in contact and being spun off the track at turns 10. So there's a few people have swapped around. John Billingsley, who was at the, so that would have been contact between John Billingsley and Andrew Whitehead at turn 9 going into 10, I think, by the looks of it. As they were at the front of the second pack of cars behind the leaders. It's a great shame there. Andrew Whitehead now suffering greatly from contact down into 8th position now, after initially climbing back up through the order. As we see Stephen Knight just getting out the way of the leading group of 4 cars. So the leaders remained unchanged, with Matt Daly in first position, Colin Keneath in second, Paul Plant in third. Doing very well to hang on to the leaders. John Billingsley as well, also suffering, dropping down the order, but on the back of James Rose's car, hoping to try and get past. He's right on the back of his car now. Will he be able to get the run? We've got long straightaway until the braking zone into turn 1. I believe it's turn 1. Yes, it is turn 1, sorry, start finish line. As they all bunch up and John Billingsley gets first. Andrew Whitehead also making up positions. Now up into 7th, behind Guy Swarbrick in 6th. So fantastic improvement on Guy's performance to get up into the position he is at the moment. So again, the leaders remain unchanged. James has got past John Billingsley with Alex Smith on the back of him. Bit of a harsh line from James there, like running over the curbs, car bouncing around, but able to hold that position for the moment. Not too sure how long that will be. So the gaps, by the looks of it, remains the same. The gap between Matt Daly and Colin Keneath now eking out to over a second. And not the most comfortable of gaps, but Andrew Whitehead now falling behind Alan Matthews, but still on his bumper. So the mid-pack still very much fighting for position. As opposed to the front runners. There's contact between Andrew Whitehead and Alan Matthews, just running into the back of his car. That's caused people behind Andrew to go wide and take a diverting action. It looks like Rob Whitney will be up alongside Andrew Whitehead, but a very, very aggressive defensive maneuver from Andrew there, keeping him behind. Andrew now having to brake very hard for not sure what, Rob Whitney losing out position there, running very wide and falling behind. Falling behind there. There's a change for third and fourth as Greg Young was trying to get past Paul Plant, very close to making contact there as they turn into turns 2 and 3, but managed to get past. Rob Whitney's now back up past Luke Wiggins. He initially fell behind. So with just over 5 minutes remaining, Matt Daly currently holding the top spot. James Rose getting past Luke Wiggins as well as they head to turns 4. And then through the winding corners of 6, 7, and then down into the braking zone of 8, I believe. So at the front of the grid with 5 minutes remaining, we have Matt Daly in front of the pack, and the gap now 0.8 of a second. The back road still tussling for position, very wide circuit and very easy to be able to try and make a passing maneuver. Everyone's still very, very bunched up together. John Billingsley losing out to Luke Wiggins, but we'll try and come back at him at under the braking zones. Gap between, looks like Colin Keneath and Matt Daly has actually fallen slightly. So Colin will be desperate to try and get into the slipstream on one of the straights, possibly line up a maneuver up the inside, but not quite close enough to do it as of yet. Paul Plant in maintaining that third position ahead of Greg Young, who tried to get a pass made. Tim Perry now in 5th position, and as we see Alan Matthews just get past Guy Swarbrick on the final turns of turn 14, 15. And he will soon be in the clutches of Andrew Whitehead as Guy brakes very, very late Very, very late braking maneuver by Guy, trying to get on the outside of Alan Matthews. Holds his position very well, but unfortunately loses out quite a considerable amount of time. And Andrew Whitehead is now able to get up beside him as they run on the run up to turns 4. And again, unfortunately, Guy Swarbrick losing out onto the braking zone as well to Rob Whitney, who has got past him as well. Greg Young running very wide off the road, trying to get onto the back of Paul Plant's car. As you can see, the third spot on the podium disappearing up in front of him. Guy Swarbrick's actually managed to get in front of Rob Whitney in the mid-section of the course. James Rose hoping that they'll continue to battle, allow him to get closer and closer. So this is turns 9 and 10. Slight contact from Rob Whitney into the back of Guy Swarbrick's car. But Guy Swarbrick doing very well to battle in the pack with the rest of them now. Looks like Andrew Whitehead now on the back of Alan Matthews again for 6th position. As Tim Perry is trying to do his best to disappear up the road. John Billingsley and Luke Wiggins again battling at the rear end of the pack. And we also see Stephen Knight just doing his best to get around the circuit as he can. We're just under 2 minutes left to go. Matt Daly currently holds the top spot, but how much longer as Colin Keneath has also set a personal best time and is actually 0.5 a second away from him. Not quite close enough to get a slipstream on him, but heavy under the brakes. He closed up right up to the back of Matt Daly's car on the braking zone into turn 1. Will he be close enough in the next couple of corners to make a maneuver? He's definitely looking to line one up. Colin just making slightly later braking point than Matt Daly at that point. There's a change in the middle, and James Rose has actually been spun around. Looked like initially he managed to get past John Billingsley rather, quite cleanly, but unfortunately whatever happened, he's ended up being turned around. Alex Smith also trading paint with a few others, cuts across the circuit in front of Luke Wiggins to prevent him from making a maneuver. As we see Colin Keneath closing up to the back of Matt Daly's car into turns 9 and 10. Nearly just ramming behind him, but managed to get the car slowed down on the spot to get round the corner. There's another change in the pack as Rob Whitney gets past Guy Swarbrick. So completely different feel to the race than last time at Nürburgring. Everyone trading places quite fairly regularly, and a very fast circuit to handle. Very easy to handle in the Giuliettas, TCR Giuliettas. See the back wheels locking up on Colin Keneath's car as he's desperately trying to find any extra time he can. As we're now closing into the final stages of the race, we'll have one more lap from the leaders. Greg Young as well, also closing in on Paul Plant's car. Well, hoping that anything in front can slow Paul Plant down for him. But now on the main straight, Colin Keneath will be close enough for the slipstream in Giulietta. Not close enough to actually make a pass at the moment, but can he get past him? You can see Paul Plant going defensive against Greg Young. There's changes in the middle. John Billingsley gets up the order, as it looks like Alex Smith 3 wide now heading down the main straight. So it looks like there. Let's see who wins out. 3 wide, Alex Smith, Luke Wiggins and John Billingsley, as they all head into the braking zone into turn 1. Who is going to have the bravest dive as they all... John Billingsley runs wide. They all break extremely late and they run wide off the circuit. But Luke Wiggins looks like wins out of the 3 of them. And Alex Smith in 11th. And John Billingsley, unfortunately, looks like he braked the latest. But had his line slightly wrong and couldn't quite get around the corner. Couldn't get the car to rotate around the corner enough to get away cleanly. So remaining lap now for the circuit. Again, Colin Knief right under the rear wing of Matt Daly, but not able to line up a manoeuvre. Will not have many chances left as we count down the corners. John Binksley and Alex Smith looks like they're changing places again, side by side. But we'll stick with the lead group for the moment. As we now go through turns 12 and into the braking zone of turn 13. One Colin Knief has really tried to close up behind Matt Daly, locking up all four wheels. Unfortunately, I think he loses a little bit of time, but manages to get the car turned at the same time. He's in the slipstream, Matt Daly's car. And can he get a maneuver done? Does he have the speed? He's looking up the inside. Decides against it on this corner. Sticks onto the back of Matt Daly's car. They have now come out of turn 15. This is the final straightaway, I believe, as they come to take the checkered flag. Matt Daly has gone defensive and will take the checkered flag just about. Colin Knief had the run. He had the run to get past him, but wasn't able to do it just in time. Matt Daly gets across. Paul Plant's disconnected just momentarily, but did take third place. Greg Young took fourth. Tim Perry managed to win out over a lot of the contact to get fifth place there. Alan Matthews in sixth. Andrew Whitehead in seventh. Unfortunately, due to contact, ended up falling behind as a few of the other cars were all coming to a stop after the race. So we will just exit the server for the moment, as everyone has now come across the start finish line. So the server will be Right, apologies for that. Due to, again, more couple of little glitches in the system, we're joining a little bit late into the actual race as it is. So with a 15-minute race as it would have started, we have just over 10 minutes remaining. So the top 7 would have been reversed from grid 1. And now we are currently 5 minutes into the race. There's a bit of a tussle going on in the middle. Alex Smith looks like he's dropping back through the order after a bit of a bad line through the 3rd corner. So everyone very bunched up in the middle of the pack, actually, still tussling for position. Alex Smith gets round Greg Young, falls in behind Colin Knief and Paul Plant in 4th position. James Rose and Andrew Whitehead are trying to disappear off the road a little bit. Looks like Ghost Warwick may have had a bit of a spin at the back and has fallen down the back of the pack. But with the fight for essentially what is 4th and 5th place, 3rd place even, as John Billingsley hasn't managed to get away from me yet. Colin Knief locking up under brakes, running wide. Paul Plant trying to get the inside line on John Billingsley, but not able to do it as of yet, and just avoiding contact with the cars in front. Oh, falling into line under the heavy braking zone. 3 wide coming out of turn 11, and Paul Plant manages to get past John Billingsley and Colin Knief following close behind him. Managing to get past him as well. So Paul Plant now up into 3rd place, but Colin Knief is on his tail, taking the inside line. Got a bit of a shunt there from John Billingsley, so give him potentially a little bit of speed that he might be thankful for. Side by side heading down the long straightaway into the last couple of corners. Andrew Whitehead has actually taken the lead as well, and got past James Rose. There's everyone running very wide. Alex Smith taking advantage of Paul Plant's misfortune. 3 wide in coming down the start-finish straight between Paul Plant, Alex Smith and Greg Young. As they come down the start-finish straight again, we've got another heavy braking zone into turn 1. Cars side by side, back to front. Who will succeed getting under braking? Paul Plant very heavy under braking, makes contact with Colin Knief and barges him off the circuit there. So Colin Knief, and again with Greg Young as well, Paul Plant making contact with a couple of cars that are causing them to spin off the circuit. So I'm sure the stewards will have a look at that. Nearly 3 wide again coming into turn 4 as well, and Paul Plant hitting Matt Daly as well on the Paul Plant on the outside of the circuit, again making contact with who's that, Alan Matthews as well. Still side by side heading through turns 6 and 7. Paul Plant just managing to pull ahead for the moment, but we'll have to go defensive against Alan Matthews, who just hits the back side of his car, nearly sending him turning around, but Paul Plant able to recover from that one. So a lot of contacts I'm sure the stewards will want to investigate from this race in particular. As far as the actual order goes, as we're going down the straight between turns, I believe 10 and 11, coming through turns 11 and 12 now. Andrew Whitehead is managed to get away into 1st place and is now 2 seconds above. 2 seconds in front of James Rose in 2nd place, and looks like to be increasing the gap. So he'll be doing his best to get away. John Billingsley back up into 3rd position after tussling with a few other cars, but Matt Daly is right behind him underneath the rear wings, looking for a maneuver, but is very, very aggressively and defensively barged off the circuit by John Billingsley, who had to back out of that and has lost a place to Alex Smith as well. So again, I'm sure even more incidents for the stewards to look at. And again, Paul Plant is now behind Matt Daly's car as well. So even further bad luck for Matt Daly, who is right beside Paul Plant now. who Matt Daly is on the inside line looking for a very, very late braking zone, and Paul Plant again hitting the back of Alex Smith's car, and again in turn hitting Matt Daly's car as they're trying to keep the cars in a straight line. Matt Daly and Paul Plant again making contact side by side as they're going through turns 5 and 6. Paul Plant running slightly off the track there for a moment, again under the heavy braking, and Paul Plant just piling into the side of Matt Daly's car. Whether that was a technical issue that prevented him from braking, he wasn't able to get the car slowed enough, but that was very, very late braking for Paul Plant there, whether intentional or not, causing Matt Daly to come off the worst of that. Where are they now? All the way back down into 10th and 11th place now. Meanwhile, at the front, at the sharp end of the race, as we come through the second of the start-finish straights there are actually on the circuit. This is the start-finish between 10 and 11. There's been a change in the middle as well. Colin Knief has gained a couple of places. So maybe there was a spin there between one of the other cars, as they're all into the heavy braking zone 4. As again, they're running through turns 11 and 12. Paul Plant and Matt Daly still fighting for position, albeit now for 11th, which was initially all the way up in 3rd place. Matt Daly trying to get a good inside run, just tagging the back of Paul Plant's car as well. So they're still trading paint very vigorously all the way around the circuit. Can Matt Daly get? He's up on the inside under the brakes, trying to avoid any more contact with each other, and does get the job done, albeit slightly cutting the track, but I think it was trying to make an avoiding manoeuvre. Again, Paul Plant trying to get slipstream between Matt Daly. They're sliding, weaving all around all over the circuit. Alex Smith and Alan Matthews changing for position. Again, Matt Daly and Paul Plant side by side, and Paul Plant has managed to get in front of him for the moment, coming out of turn 3. Alex Smith has not where the circuit goes, unfortunately. Alan Matthews losing out position to Alex Smith, who in turn is now right behind John Billingsley and is trying to eye up a manoeuvre, looking to go around the outside, but we'll have to be careful not to lose out to Alan Matthews again for position. And there's contact between Alex Smith and John Billingsley. Everyone's sliding across the circuit now with a full 7 or 8 cars tussling for position. Looks like Matt Daly's managed to get in front of Paul Plant for the time being, but again still very evenly matched on pace. Will be changing for position. Alan Matthews runs wide, loses a lot of time, drops down the order through the entire pack. Beg your pardon, not Alan Matthews, he's at the front. Who was it that dropped back? John Billingsley was dropping back and going back even further, and makes contact with Greg Young as he's trying to get back onto the circuit as well after running wide in turn 13, I believe. Again, causes issues for another driver, and Paul Plant and Matt Daly actually getting up into 8th and 9th respectively. There's more people running wide on the final corner in the dusk as Alex Smith loses out several positions now. So if the rest of them can keep clean races, then they'll certainly benefit from that. We have Colin Knief right behind Alan Matthews coming into the braking zone of turn 1. They both slow the car down as much as they can. They avoid making contact, and Colin Knief manages to get on a good drive on the outside, cuts across into turn 2 and cuts off Alan Matthews from making a manoeuvre. Very lucky not to come across the front of Alan's car. and is now in the clutches of Rob Whitney and Tim Perry. And Rob Whitney getting the better of him and under the braking, perhaps, if he can get a good drive away. He doesn't. And Alan Matthews is still up beside his car and is beginning to win out. And looks like, who was that? Tim Perry making a massive dive in turn 6 and getting past Rob Whitney as well. And will now be trying to do his best to get past Alan Matthews if he can stay in front of, if he can defend from Rob Whitney and keep him at bay. Meanwhile, with just 10 seconds counting down, been trying to keep track of all the changes of position, the race has flown by so far. So with 10 seconds now remaining on the clock, so the clock strikes 0, so that means we have one more lap remaining from our leader Andrew Whitehead, as he now comes out of turn 13 down the penultimate straight, and he will be looking to once out of these turns 14 and 15 will begin the final lap of the race. Very much having the race I think he'd wished to have in the first race, had it not been for contact that caused him to drop down the order. So, as Andrew Whitehead now completes turn 1 on the final lap, James Rose is in second position, not able to keep Andrew Whitehead at bay for the entirety of the race, but still, if he can keep a clean race, will do very well. Colin Knief now eking out quite a few seconds over the nearest rival, Alan Matthews, who's having to defend from Tim Perry and Rob Whitney simultaneously, who is in front of Alex Smith, and the battle between Matt Daly and Paul Plant. It looks like maybe Paul Plant made an error that caused him to drop quite a bit of time from Matt Daly, but Matt is now in turn on the back of Alex Smith's car, and we're trying to make a manoeuvre for Greg Young, we see in the pits. So Guy Swarbrick and Stephen Knight actually benefiting from Greg Young being in the pits. So Matt Daly on the back of Alex Smith's car will be trying his best to get a manoeuvre in before the end of the race. But we are counting down the corners now. He won't have much time to do it, as we still have about 7 or 8 cars in very close proximity of each other. As Andrew Whitehead is now on the penultimate start-finish straight, the penultimate straight of the circuit, rather. Again, everyone's still very close for position as they're all going through turns 11. Andrew Whitehead weaving in victory as he takes the checkered flag for the race. James Rose comes through in second place, so well done to the both of them. Colin Knief takes third. Alan Matthews in fourth, Tim Perry in fifth. From the group, just about managing to get a position there, Matt Daly does actually get past Alex Smith for 7th place, so a very good run from him on the outside. Paul Plant coming across the line backwards in 9th, Luke Wiggins in 10th. John Billingsley, unfortunately, trails behind in 11th place. Guy Swarbrick, I'm sure a race to forget for him. Here it comes along in 12th. Greg Young still in the pits, so we'll not actually be able to finish the race, I think, by the looks of it. And Stephen Knight now rounding out the order. So very close racing from everyone Everyone very close, constantly changing positions, trying to outdo each other under braking. Unfortunately, we saw some slightly poor choice of braking points from some of the drivers. Some people losing out massively. Some people were able to claw themselves back from contact. So a bit of a shame to see it from some of the others. But yes, Andrew Whitehead in first position for that race. James Rose in second and Colin Kenefi in third. Yes, very exciting. I'm sure some things for the stewards to look at though. Some questionable overtakes at best. One of those things that if you can keep a clean race and you can jump up the order quite a lot. But there we are. So we will soon be looking at completing the final lap of the race. Hopefully, if all goes to plan, we'll be there for the start of it. It was a great shame not to miss the first 5 minutes of that race, unfortunately. First 7 positions should have been reverse grid from the first race. And yeah, but now we are going further into the evening, so it'll be more of a dusk and night race, I believe, for this one. And we'll be running a little bit later, as well as there was an issue with the settings for the second race. So I'm going to pop to the splash screen for a second, and we'll be back in a moment. So we are back at it for the final race of the evening. Well into the dusk now. That's the Bahrain International Circuit, running the GP layout. I believe it's a full reverse grid now for the order. So as you can see, we currently have Greg Young taking pole position, Stephen Knight in second, Guy Swarbrick in third, John Billingsley in fourth, completing the first two rows, Luke Wiggins on the third row, and he should be joined by someone else next to him when they load in, which shouldn't be too long. Beginning the fourth row is Alex Smith with Matt Daly next to him. Tim Perry on the back half of the fifth row. Alan Matthews down there in ninth position. The camera car, Colin Knief back in 10th. And Andrew Whitehead will be at the back of the grid due to his success in the second race. So he will have it all to do if he wants a piece of the action at the front, which I'm sure for a lot of the faster guys probably won't take too long to do, but they do all have to be careful going into the first corner as always, as it will obviously hurt their chances if they're caught up in any incidents at the start of the race. With slightly longer now, with 16. Oh no, sorry, that's the countdown involved. So we're still on a 15-minute race with one lap from the leader. I think we have most of the grid currently lined up. We seem to be missing one car from further back in the pack. Most of the guys able to find their lights buttons for this race, and hopefully the glare won't the glare from the sun won't cause any issues this time around for them. So with the final seconds counting down, 6 lights begin to appear on the gantry. The lights go out and away they go. No jump starts from anyone, looks like, on this time around. Or just shuffling around looking for the braking points. We currently have 4 wide going into the first corner. Some very, very, very strange braking points. There's contact in the middle. Can't go around. Looks like Stephen Knight unfortunately caught out. Everyone's taking very, very wide lines to get through the circuit. Tim Perry has dropped down a position. Guy Swarbrick has dropped down. Greg Young is currently fighting for the lead with Paul Plant, able to get the car slowed down, but has run very wide. Paul Plant will get a better run and takes the first position of the race. Everyone, despite a few wide angles, it looks like Colin Knief might be just managed to get away with contact with the back of Luke Wiggins' car there. Andrew Whitehead all the way up into 5th now, so a fantastic start from him to get through the pack up into that position. Paul Plant is now over a second ahead of Greg Young and is disappearing up the road. Greg Young will now have to possibly start defending from John Billingsley, and Matt Daly behind him now. Andrew Whitehead up into 5th position. Looks like Matt Daly was eyeing up a maneuver on John Billingsley, but not committing to it yet. We have a battle between Tim Perry and Luke Wiggins. Who's that running wide? Luke Wiggins runs very wide, coming round turns 12, I believe, into again a braking zone with you're turning the car as you're trying to get it slowed down, which is not ideal position to be in turns 13. Looks like Matt Daly's trying to fake out John Billingsley, but not able to do it yet. John going very defensive, weaving across the circuit, but able to get the car slowed down. Does Matt have a run on him into the first corner? He's very close behind him. He's in the slipstream. He's moving to the inside of the circuit to try and get a run. John's going defensive. The contact between the two, and it sends the front of Matt Daly's car spinning across the circuit, and then hits the leader and causes them to come off the circuit. So a very, very strange maneuver, causing Paul Plant trying to rejoin the circuit. Excuse me. Ends up hitting a few cars, including Guy Swarbrick. But it looks like Matt Daly just completely lost control after the contact with John Billingsley and just cascaded into the front of Paul Plant's car, who would not have seen him coming in any way, shape or fashion. And as now that's caused him to drop surely can't believe his luck that he's now re-inherited the lead. Andrew Whitehead is now in second from the last place on the grid. John Billingsley has managed to get come off lightly from any contact that was made and is in third at the moment. Colin Knief is in fourth position behind him, but is right behind John Billingsley bumper. It looks like Alex Smith has unfortunately made a spin. Guy Swarbrick and Paul Plant are tussling, and it's sending Guy Swarbrick into the wall. The contact between Paul Plant and Guy, unfortunately, on the straight between turns 10 and 11. Guy Swarbrick ended up coming across Paul Plant's car. It wasn't a great angle to see exactly what happened, but unfortunately Guy Swarbrick has been seriously damaged from that contact. But as we just close out the first 5 minutes of the race, we have Greg Young in first position, Andrew Whitehead in second, hot on his tail. Colin Knief in third, now trying to defend from not John Billingsley as they come across the start-finish straight. But John Billingsley in turn has Tim Perry on his tail. Will Tim try and eye up in a mover coming into the first corner? They all get it slowed down, but Tim Perry is getting a better drive out of the first corner through the second and third corners, but not able to get the maneuver done, but is still very close to the back of John's car. And there's slight contact between the two as Tim's trying to get his car slowed down enough and carry as much speed as he can through the corners to make a maneuver on John as they both brake coming through turns through turn 8, I believe. And now no, beg your pardon, this is turn 8. So now we have a very heavy braking zone of turns 9 and 10 going into a left-hander. Can they both keep it under control? They can, but Tim right on the back of John's car trying to get a better drive away, but John manages to get a bit of space between the two. The gap between our leader and Andrew Whitehead now 3.3 of a second in the mid-section of the track. Colin Knief closing the gap on Andrew Whitehead as well by the looks of it. They've all sort of slightly evened out during the mid-section. Matt Daly back in 7th ahead of Alan Matthews. Paul Plant just limping along at the moment, back up into 9th from 11th position, getting ahead of Alex Smith, who did not have a great start of the race. Stephen Knight in 11th, and Guy Swarbrick has decided to retire to the pit lane. So hopefully we'll see him back out in a minute. As we see Greg Young come across the start-finish straight with 8 minutes to go on the clock. There's quite a group of cars behind him. Colin Knief is in the slipstream of Andrew Whitehead's car. Andrew going defensive into turn 1. They both get it slowed down onto brakes extremely well. And no incidents between the two going onto the straight on the run-up to turn 4. Tim Perry still behind John Billingsley, eyeing up a position, but not committing to it under the brakes. Seems that Tim is stronger in the beginning couple of sectors of the circuit, but can't get close enough to make a maneuver. But as I say that, coming into turn 8, gets the inside line and is now up beside John Billingsley, but will be on the wrong side of the circuit, ideally for turns 9 and 10. But as we see Tim make a mistake there, and the car sliding onto the grass on the inside of turn 10, managing to recover very, very quickly, but just seemed to lose the back end of the car slightly and over-rotate, sliding into the grass at turn 10, but carrying on. And it looks like he'll have to start to defend from Luke Wiggins. John Billingsley very slow on the outside this corner and loses out of position to both cars. And now we have Luke Wiggins and Tim Perry battling for position. It's contact between Luke Wiggins and Tim Perry's. Tim is sent flying forward, but able to recover very lightly, and has come out the victor out of the 3 cars, coming down the straight to turn 14. So now we have John Billingsley in 5th and Luke Wiggins in 6th, who will be, I'm sure, kicking himself after managing to get a position back and then losing it again. John Billingsley getting the run down the start-finish straight next to Tim Perry. So now the next few seconds just side by side trying to gain a position. Who will win out onto braking? John will have the commanding position on the circuit, but Tim manages to outbrake him, but not again, still side by side, but gets the better position of the car coming through turns 2 and 3, and he's still in 4th place, but moving to the outside of the circuit, looking like he's going defensive, but has left the door open for John Billingsley to try for an outside maneuver, not able to do it, and John ducks back in behind Tim Perry as they now tackle the next section of corners between turns 5 to 8. So I think a few cars, lots and lots of few cars backfiring, fuel being burnt there, as we have 1/3 of the race remaining. Greg Young now in first position, doing very well to hold that position, but 2 seconds behind him is Andrew Whitehead now. 3 seconds, sorry, is Andrew Whitehead trying to close down the gap as much as he can, with Colin Knief hot on his tail. So the first 3 front runners just running up the road now. But close behind him is the battle for 4th position between Tim Perry, John Billingsley and Luke Wiggins. All trying to find out the weak points of everyone else. Where can they gain ground under braking? Can they get in the slipstream of the car in front coming down the straights? And there are several straights on this circuit, a very, very long circuit, with about 4 potential overtaking straights, and so we see the fastest lap of the race gets set by Colin Knief, 2 minutes 11 seconds 0.008. Although very similar time, I think, by Matt Daly, or that may have been a bit slower. So the lead pack remains unchanged. Greg Young just ahead of Andrew Whitehead. Now the gap down to 2 seconds. Can Greg hold out in time for the end of the race, with Andrew Whitehead closing the gap as much as he can? Colin Knief in 3rd position. John Billingsley in Tim Perry in 4th, sorry, John Billingsley in 5th. So Tim Perry managing again, getting some space between him and John Billingsley. Luke Wiggins all the way back in 6th at the moment. Again, not able to close the gap at the moment. Although John Billingsley gets a very, very bad braking point turning into turn 10. And Luke Wiggins now up beside him on the inside of the circuit. Will he get the job done going into turn 11? It's a slightly faster sweeping left-hander. He ducks back in, but is able, the gap's still there. The door is still open for him. Trying desperately not to make contact with John, who he hopes he knows he's there. Can he get the job done under braking going into turn 13? He backs off as to miss the back of John's car, and he's not able to get it done, but he's right behind John in the slipstream for the run down to turn 14. John's going defensive on the inside of the circuit. So far Luke isn't able to get the job done quite yet. He's just biding his time. Only probably 2 laps left of the race remaining. The gap now down to 1.5 seconds between Greg Young and Andrew Whitehead, who will very shortly, hoping to be in the slipstream of the car in front and get the gap down even further. Colin Knief just managing to hang on to the tail of Andrew Whitehead's car. Luke Wiggins has managed to get past John Billingsley, and Matt Daly has also managed to get past Alan Matthews as well. So I'm not sure what happened there, whether there was 2 separate battles that culminated in the same place, or whether Alan tried to get out of the way of whatever incident was happening in front of him, but has lost out to Matt Daly. So Matt Daly all the way up into 7th now from initially quite far down the order. With 20 seconds remaining on the clock, this is currently going to be the penultimate lap. The gap now just over a second between Greg Young and Andrew Whitehead. It'll be very interesting to see if the gap is completely closed by the time we get to the end of the race. Tim Perry now well ahead of Luke Wiggins and John Billingsley, still fighting for 5th position, but they have Matt Daly and Alan Matthews to contend behind them as well. Alex Smith and Paul Plant battling for 9th place now. Alex right onto the back of Paul Plant's car. Stephen Knight in 11th, and Guy Swarbrick did rejoin us for 12th place. So, final lap of the race. Final lap of the final race of the evening. Let's see what happens with certain people in the race. John Billingsley gets back past Luke Wiggins, who takes a very, very cutting line there. Didn't manage to get round the corner at all. Alex Smith again managed to get past Paul Plant. Looks like Paul Plant ran wide at turn 1. Didn't get back on track properly. So Luke Wiggins now having to defend from Matt Daly. Up beside him, the gap between... Andrew Whitehead may have made a mistake there, because the gap was closing down quite rapidly, and now it's kind of stable at the moment at 1.5 seconds. So hopefully Greg Young can maintain the gap enough just to clinch the final race. Matt Daly is side by side Luke Wiggins as they turn in the left-hander into turn 9, but having to dive out the way of John Billingsley, who there's contact between the two. Luke Wiggins is now pointing the wrong way up the circuit and lost out massively to that group of cars. John Billingsley is now slowed really quite dramatically. So part of the issue with causing Matt Daly to dive out the way and come off the line of the circuit, John Billingsley is now really running quite slowly on the circuit, and soon we'll have Luke Wiggins behind him as well. So very, very strange incident there. Who was the other? So yeah, Luke Wiggins pointing the wrong way and coming off worse in that situation, just trying to get away from Alex Smith behind him. As we see Greg Young take the checkered flag, Andrew Whitehead behind him, not able to get the job done. In second place, Colin Keneath in third, Tim Perry takes fourth, Matt Daly does manage to clinch fifth position. John Billingsley in sixth, Alan Matthews in seventh, Luke Wiggins in eighth, Alex Smith takes ninth, Paul Plant all the way down in 10th place after leading at the beginning of the race. Guy Swarbrick we see in 12th place, and Stephen Knight just trundling around just to complete the race in 11th. So a very well done to Greg Young in that race, for keeping a very, very consistent pace and managing to maintain that gap, which in the end was 1.3 seconds ahead from Andrew Whitehead, who was trying to close him down as best he can, but not able to get the job done. And I will need to just open up. Let's get the audio set up a little bit, because I forgot to add the channel that will allow us to talk to Mr. Andrew Whitehead. That one. Wonderful. Right.
System or something. Yeah, there we go.
Hello, gentlemen.
Good evening.
Good evening. How did you both find that?
Arm destroying.
Bit mad.
My arms are killing me.
Every race had something in it, didn't it? It was very entertaining to watch. Yes. Andrew, how did that final race go for you? Because you were really trying to chase down Greg Young, weren't you, in the last few laps by the looks of it?
Yeah, I thought he'd crack under the pressure, but actually he was so well in control. It was, it was great work. But Colin and I started right near the back of the grid. We got towards the sharp end, so you can't really ask more than that, can you?
No, it's very, very good. A bit of feedback on there, but yes, how was that race for you, Greg?
Oh, we all get feedback from Greg.
I'm about to put him on mute then.
The last race went well. Gifted it, really. Hold on to it, haven't you? Especially with these two behind.
Indeed. Colin, you've joined us. What were your thoughts on tonight's events?
It was pretty manic. There seemed to be everything going on. But yeah, I was involved in a few bits and pieces, but I still got in there towards the end, so I've got to be happy with that. I knew it'd be carnage, as you can't even get proper drivers coming around here, never mind amateurs.
Did the how was this the first time you guys have raced with the day dusk night sort of setup, or?
I think the first time we've done dusk. I think the rest of it has been during the day. We were hoping to do night, but that was a bit step too far.
I see.
I don't think it really. The lighting was a little bit annoying, but you got used to it. Once you were used to the track, then it was absolutely fine.
How were the cars this evening with the Giuliettas? Because they were very, like, everything was a lot very evenly paced between everyone by the looks of it. There were some sort of tight groups of cars battling for position in the mid pack. So how do they compare with the 8C that was raced sort of at Nürburgring?
You can race closely with these because they're easy to handle. So the racing's always quite close.
A sort of front wheel drive, it's a bit more forgiving, I think, with some of the incidents we saw.
Yeah, the understeer can be a bit of a pain, but
The grip level was a bit iffy, but yeah, it keeps everybody tight, which is good. That's what we want to see.
And the good thing is you can pop to the shops in it afterwards.
Is that where everyone's going now to the shops for alcohol to recover from tonight's events?
I mean, I much prefer the rear wheel drive stuff. So I find it more of a challenge with the front wheel drive beastie. But it's, as Greg said, you can race a lot closer, and it is more predictable. And we needed that really, because with the step forward in time of day, the lower temperature and the track grip degrading, to go into that last race with such a low grip with a really high horsepowered rear wheel drive thing, I don't think we'd have got around.
That's quite interesting to know, yeah. Trying to keep heat.
It would have been like the F1 cars around from Turkey.
Yeah.
Could have caused even more carnage. So for the championship at the moment, I think the standings are before tonight's events anyway, Colin Knief was in first place with Andrew Whitehead in second and Matt Daly in third. I do forget a little bit who out of that is the pro driver.
Matt's the pro.
Matt's the pro. So for the race in the for the end of the season, it's between you two, Colin and Andrew. Does the pressure of that weigh in your mind when you're racing round? It's a championship points, or do you just put it in the back of your mind and keep managing to carry on racing?
Got to put it to the back of your mind, really. I mean, we've known each other a while. We get on okay off track. So, but I must admit, when Colin got involved in a bit of a hoo-ha in the second race, and I was up near the front, and he dropped right the way back to maybe 12th or something, and I have to admit, my heart skipped a little joyous beat, and then he ploughed his way all the way back to third like he does. So yeah, it's a bugger for that.
The more I think about championships, that's when things start to go wrong. So you can see things going wrong over the next couple of weeks for me. That's usually what happens in previous series that I've done. So yeah, I'm waiting at going wrong.
I see.
There's a new piece of strategy, isn't it? I'll just keep talking championship.
just spam it for the rest of the season. Head games now for the rest of the racing.
No, that's it. You got the Rosberg now and again.
Well, thank you very much, guys, for joining me for the end of the race, and we look forward to the next one for you.
Cheers.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you.
Cheers.
Fantastic. Now my voice is going quite dramatically now. So I hope you enjoyed this evening event. The racing was fantastic. Congratulations.